reaction for another day of the week, for another week of the month, for another month of the year. Welcome to the Monday edition. Chasing that paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. We got a jam-packed show planned for you guys today. No NBA games, but plenty of NBA talk in the second half of the show. Before we get there, though, we're going to be weighing in on this NHL playoff game tonight between the Stars and the Crackheads, and we have, I believe, 7 total picks for Major League Baseball. And also in the second half of the program, very excited, Ian will be breaking down his most underrated interior offensive lineman in the NFL. So very excited about that. We ended the week strong last week. The middle was a little sketchy. A couple of profitable shows to end the week last week, so we'll hope to bring that winning energy rate into today. So let's bring in our guy, Mr. New York City, the pride of Colebrook, Nova Scotia. Take a look at him. Oh, Ian threw on a shirt, a quarter zip. Ian is a blue-blooded bastard. Ronald Reagan supporter. Ian, how goes the battle? Are you doing well?
Yeah, everything is going well, Joe. I was wearing a t-shirt, but you have chirped me enough times on this show for just wearing a t-shirt, so I figured I'd toss a quarter zip on top of it. Big fan of the Q zip.
Yeah, you know, we are a casual show here, Ian, but, you know, and I do appreciate, fix it up the collar here a little bit. You know, you got one side sagging a little bit. Usually if you zip it up a tiny bit, it will help straighten. If you zip up maybe about an inch, maybe you can go, no, not the whole way, a little bit. If you do it, it helps keep the collar a little bit straighter. That's been my experience with quarter zips. Okay, so we got a lot to get into here, and we only have one playoff game tonight across both the NBA and the NHL. Of course, the conference finals gets rolling in the NBA here tomorrow, but we do have a hockey game here, Ian. The Stars are going to be moving on to the Western Conference Finals, or what?
I think so. Would you like me to get into my pick? Let's get into the pick.
Indeed.
Not only do I think
the
Stars
now.
are going to win, I think these Stars will win by more than one goal tonight. That is what us hockey bettors like to call the puck line. I'll be riding with the Stars all series. I'm not going to stop now. Give me the Stars minus 1.5 at plus 125 tonight. They have been dominating this series when you look at the advanced metrics. There's no way this series should have gone to 7 games. You look at 5-on-5 expected goals per 60 minutes. Stars got 2.8, Kraken 2.09. If you include special teams, so you look at all strengths, 3.39 expected goals per 60 minutes, only 2.37 for the Crackheads. The Stars are also averaging more than 4.7 high danger scoring chances per 60 minutes than the Kraken are. The reason why this has gone to 7 is because for some reason Jake Ottinger has not played to the best of his ability. It's time for him to step up as a goaltender. We have seen him throughout his young career bring it in the playoffs. He hasn't this series, but it's not too late. I expect a good performance by him tonight, and also I expect a good performance by the Dallas special teams, power play and penalty kill. They had the 5th best power play in the NHL this season, 3rd best penalty kill, but they're only outscoring the Kraken on the power play 4-2. They got to pick it up in that area in tonight's Game 7. I think they'll do it. I think the Stars win with margin. I'll take a minus 1.5 on the puck line, plus 125.
All right, to the diamond we go. We'll start things off in Baltimore, where we have everybody's favorite type of bet. We got a walk prop. Sound effect. That's the sound effect we want queued up for the walk prop. A little bit late, but better late than never, I suppose. We're going to target Shohei Ohtani. Going to go with over 1.5 walks for Ohtani, coming in at minus 140. So check out Ohtani this season. He's had 2 or more walks in 6 of 7 full starts this season. He had 1 start cut short due to rain. He's averaging 4.3 walks per 9 innings on the road. Now to put that into context here a little bit, that's the 18th highest among 111 pitchers with at least 15 innings of work on the road. And the Orioles walking at a good percentage here, the 9th highest walk percentage over the last 2 weeks. There is nothing in all of sports betting sexier than a walk prop. Ohtani over 1.5 walks. All right, Ian, your first bet for Major League Baseball. What do you got?
Yes, I'm going to keep up with the theme here of pitching props, but I'm going to go with a different one. I'm going to go with the strikeout prop for the Mets. David Peterson will go under 5.5 strikeouts at minus 154 odds. So a little bit juicy here, but I still think this is a great bet to place because he's going up against the Washington Nationals today and a little NL East action. And the Nationals may suck as a team, but they're very good, and some might even say the best at not striking out. They lead Major League Baseball in strikeout percentage against left-handed pitchers, striking out only 15.2% of the time. And Peterson may not last long in this game to begin with. He might not be in there long enough to get to 6 strikeouts. He has a 7.68 ERA in 7 starts this season, and he also has bad numbers against the Nationals. Last season, he faced them 3 different times. He had a 5.73 ERA in those games. Only struck out 5.7 batters per 9 innings. If those numbers keep up against the Nationals this year in his first start against them in 2023, this bet will hit with ease. So give me Peterson under 5.5 strikeouts against the Nats.
All right, next up we have an NL Central battle between the Brew Crew and the Cardinals, and I've got over on the first 5, total of 4 runs coming in at minus 115. So the Cardinals starting to come around here. After that shitty start to the season, they're absolutely raking versus right-handed pitching. Second in OPS versus righties over the last 2 weeks. First in OPS versus righties when you condense that down to just the last week of this season. They're taking on Freddy Peralta, and he's been absolutely owned by the Cardinals' top bats. Both Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt have an OPS of over 1,200 against him. He also has a 6.59 ERA in his career at Busch Stadium. And Jack Flaherty starting for the Cards here, and he's just been horribly inefficient. A ton of walks this season. His last 5 starts have seen him post a ERA of 9.00. And Milwaukee hitters have hit him pretty good. They've combined for an 894 OPS against him in 92 at-bats. Give me over 4, first 5 Brewers versus Cardinals. All right, Ian, let's keep on rolling. What do you got next?
Next up, we are going to go with another prop bet, but this one's for a batter. We're going to go CS Suzuki of the Cubs over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. This is the first time I've ever placed this type of prop bet, so let's hope for the best. I could have just gone hits, but over 0.5 hits is like minus 200. I'm not going to give you guys a minus 200 pick. So let's go hits, runs, RBIs for Suzuki. And the reason why I like him tonight is because he has a 400 batting average against lefties this season, one of the best marks in Major League Baseball amongst all batters who have at least 30 plate appearances against lefties. That's a huge improvement from his batting average against righties, which is at 211. And this is not just a 2023 phenomenon. Over his career, short career, but still, his 2-year career, 299 batting average against lefties, 250 against righties. So he's always been much better against lefties. He's been hot lately, getting an RBI in 3 of his last 4 games. And he's taken on a lefty starter in Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros here. And I think we may see a little bit of regression from Valdez. He has a 2.38 ERA, but a 3.05 FIP. It is the best ERA of his career so far. He is still a very good pitcher, going to post up good numbers, but I think we might see maybe a tad bit of regression, and that could come today against Suzuki, who absolutely hammers left-handed pitchers. So I'll take him over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. We need to come up with a better name for that bet because it's too much of a mouthful. Give me Suzuki plus 105.
Right, you heard it here first. Regression coming for Valdez, according to Ian. Okay, moving on here. Actually, we're going to stay in this game. Another pitcher prop, another prop for this game. Jamison Tyon, the pride of Lakeland, Florida. Going to take him to have over 4.5 strikeouts. That's going off at minus 102. So his numbers a little bit deceiving here so far this season because his pitch count has been low for few different reasons, all injury related for the most part, but he's still top 4.5 strikeouts in 3 of his last 4 starts, including 2 separate starts where he had 7 Ks despite not reaching the 90 pitch mark. He is averaging 11.4 strikeouts per 9 innings with a 28.1 strikeout percentage, both easily the best among Cubs starting pitchers, and the Astros have been awful versus right-handed pitching. K percentage isn't insane or anything. They have the 12th highest K percentage over the past 2 weeks, but they're 27th in OPS versus righties in that 2-week sample size. So we should have a good opportunity to stick around a bit deeper into this game and go over 4.5 strikeouts. All right, Ian, your final pick of the show. What do we got?
Last up, we're going with my favorite total bet of the night here. And I'm going to go under 9 between the Phillies and the Giants. Let's get into it here. Both teams bad versus left-handed pitchers. That's going to be huge because this is a battle of lefties. 23rd in OPS are the Phillies. 26th are the Giants against left-handed pitchers this season. Not good. And like I said, it is a battle of lefties between Alex Wood and Bailey Falter. Alex Wood's strong start to the season, 2.45 ERA and 11 innings pitched. I'll be honest, though. I couldn't find many positive things to say about Bailey Falter. Boy, he sucks. But hopefully he doesn't suck as much in tonight's game. Now, I will say, shout out to viewer of the show, Bob. This pick is for him. There was a few weeks ago I made a pick going against the Phillies, and one of my reasons why was I said the Phillies bullpen sucks. Well, Bob took a little bit of offense to that. He sent me a very lengthy DM after that show, and he said, quote, "You can't/shouldn't go by ERA this early in the season because a bad start will and did lead you to an inaccurate conclusion. Some details." And then he listed about 300 words worth of details about why the Phillies bullpen is actually good. So, Bob, this pick is for you, my friend. It's well written, so I'll ride with you here. If the Phillies bullpen lets me down, I'm coming after you, Bob. Give me the under 9 between the Giants and the Phillies. Come on, Bob.
There we go, Bob. The pressure is on Bob tonight. Okay, let's wrap things up here with the Arizona Diamondbacks going over their team total of 5.5 runs, coming in at plus 102 tonight in Oakland versus the disgrace that is the Oakland Athletics. So check out the A's allowing a Major League Baseball high 7.52 runs per game. Are you kidding me? They got a lot of bad starters. Maybe their worst one going tonight, Drew Rucinski. This guy's been an absolute abomination. An 8.16 ERA with more walks than strikeouts in his 3 starts this season. Poor guy's going to have to take on a D-backs lineup that has been elite versus right-handed pitching. Number 1 in OPS versus righties over the last 2 weeks of the season. They're very tough on pitchers. The highest walk percentage and the second lowest strikeout percentage in that span. Just some incredible discipline here. Check out the back end here. Not very beautiful here for the Oakland Athletics. A 7.01 ERA for their bullpen. A 7.51 ERA. You shrink that down to just the last 2 weeks. Give me the Diamondbacks over 5.5 runs plus 102. Yeah. Foggy here on a Monday. Let's pick it up a little bit. So guys, if you like the show, it's very easy to let us know that you like the show. All you got to do is hit the like button right down there. While you're at it, also hit that subscribe button right down there beside it. A lot of great content here on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel. You're going to want to check that out. You're also going to want to check out the King of Sportsbooks, BetMGM. If you're looking to get some action in tonight, I recommend signing up. We've got a great offer just for Vegas Insider users. Sign up with BetMGM, and you can use the promo code VIBonusMatch, and you'll get up to $1,100 of your deposit matched by BetMGM. That's code VIBonusMatch, all one word, no spaces, for a first bet deposit offer of up to $1,100. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All right. We got a lot to unpack here from over the weekend, a lot out of the NBA. We'll touch on some NHL stuff as well, but let's start with the NBA and what we saw yesterday. And you mean to tell me the Philadelphia 76ers shrunk in a big spot? Really? They blew a 3-2 series lead? Really? The Philadelphia 76ers did that. Guys, if you've been following my content for a while, if you've been watching this show all NBA season, how many times have you heard me say, do you trust Doc Rivers in a big spot? Absolutely not. Do you trust James Harden in a big spot? Absolutely not. Now we can add the name of Joel Embiid to that list. Do you trust him in a big spot? Absolutely not. He was horrific yesterday. The MVP of the league. Give me a break. He's got to be the least valuable MVP that we've ever seen. That was a complete and total no-show. 8 rebounds? Never mind the 15 points. 8 rebounds for Embiid in that game. Then he comes out to this post-game press conference. What an embarrassment by him. Good on him for not hiding from the press, I suppose. But he was a disaster in that press conference. He oddly really opened up. Like he was happy to be out there. He was contradicting himself a lot. Tried to quote that Giannis failure quote. That backfired. And he had this quote. Some are saying it's out of context. Some are saying he didn't mean to say it. But he says, me and James, we can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. We need everybody to find ways to be better. Some people are saying it was out of context. He was contradicting himself because he had other quotes saying, hey, it's on me. I'm supposed to be the number one guy on the team. But this is a joke because there's a pattern here of Embiid kind of throwing his teammates under the bus after disappointing playoff exits. And we're seeing it again. Look at this stat we have here from ESPN Stats and Information. Joel Embiid averaged 31.3 points per game in the regular season and 23.7 points per game in the playoffs. That's a drop-off of 9.4, and that is the largest by that year's MVP in NBA history. Madness. So, congrats to Embiid for having great games in January versus the dinky Detroit Pistons and lighting up the Indiana Pacers when they come to town. But that's embarrassing, and that's an embarrassing quote about we need other players. It's a 5-on Embiid. You cry all season long about not winning the MVP, and they give it to you, and this is what you show up and do. By the way, Tobias Harris and Maxey each had more points than both him and James Harden. It looks like James Harden, he's serious about returning to the Houston Rockets. If he goes back to the Houston Rockets, it tells me that James Harden is not serious about winning. And he's not going to come out right out and admit that. If he did come out and admit that, I would be fine with that. I would accept that because we all know he's not serious about winning. He just wants to go and fill the stat sheet during the regular season and have no expectation whatsoever during the playoffs because when there are expectations, James Harden does not perform. Someone who does perform, though, when there are expectations, Jason Tatum. We got to give this guy a nice pat on the back. Got to have some positivity on the show here. What a performance by him yesterday, completely going off. It's kind of funny how the narrative shifts 3 quarters into Game 6. We were preparing to have some much different conversations about Jason Tatum. He was preparing to have a very rough offseason, but we saw him rise to the occasion in the fourth quarter, won that game for the Celtics, and he combined with his teammates to win that game. An absolute smackdown yesterday. So congratulations to Tatum and the Boston Celtics. I kind of have some Boston Celtics exhaustion, I guess you could call it. Can anyone relate to that? Getting a little sick of seeing the Celtics. Now, yeah, get the clapping sound effect from Tito, who is the Miami Heat fan. We have a poll that we'll bring up here momentarily too. But elsewhere in the NBA, so we see the Lakers move on to the Western Conference Finals. Hey, who saw that? After a 2-10 start, everyone was ready to write their obituary. But what I find interesting about the Lakers, and I kind of realized this during the game on Friday night, so LeBron's been with the team for 4 years. This is the first time in his 4 years with the Lakers that the Lakers are playing extremely meaningful games in front of their home crowd in LA. Of course, when they won the championship, it was in the bubble. So that fan base in LA, that's a great crowd. I'm not necessarily a big Lakers fan. I'm not a Celtics fan either. I can admit that they have a great crowd at their games. They were relentless to start that game. You got to give them a pat on the back for yesterday as well. But Ian, this is something that I like about sports. You always see the UFC do this, and you see it a lot of times when the Lakers are playing. When they show all the celebrities sitting courtside in the front row. We had Leo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, of course, a handful of the Kardashians, or some of the legendary players. Am I alone in saying I love when they do that? I don't necessarily like who they show all the time, but I always find that interesting. Do you find that interesting at all?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, if they're going to do
I
that for
love
the
it.
first 2 rows of people, what I don't like is teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know much about the Lakers and how expensive their tickets are, but they make the tickets so damn expensive for the playoffs that the entire building just ends up being like rich people who don't really care about it. Obviously, it's cool to see celebrities for the Lakers if they're going to sit courtside, but what are the rest of the seats like for the Lakers? Is it average folk that can afford it, or like tickets like $5,000? They're probably pretty expensive, I would guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not a cheap ticket, especially in the playoffs. So Lakers is the biggest ticket in town in Los Angeles. So, yeah, the Lakers advance. We'll get into that series tomorrow. LA, a 5.5-point underdog. Game 1 in Denver. They've been pretty good in game 1s in the playoffs here so far. So I'll dig into that and I'll have a pick for that for you guys tomorrow. Ja Morant back in the news for all the wrong reasons. Yet again, and I said this the first time around, this is an example of an athlete that thinks they're completely invincible. You know, you have some of these guys that grow up from a young team, they got nothing but everybody just kissing their ass, telling them how great they are, getting recruited by universities telling them how great they are. Then they come into the NBA, everyone telling them how great they are. And in addition to that, oh, here's $100 million to prove how great you are, getting your own signature shoe from Nike. Ja Morant's a moron. There's no need to sugarcoat this at all. This is a complete and total joke, and he's going to be in shit. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. Let me tell you why. He met face-to-face with Adam Silver in the NBA offices last time around this happened, him showing off a gun on Instagram Live. I guess it's not illegal for him to be doing that, but you can understand with, guns are a pretty controversial topic in the world and in America right now. You can understand a business not wanting their employee to be playfully showing off a gun on Instagram. And anyway, yeah, he met face-to-face with Adam Silver. Silver kind of took him at his word that he was sorry and he would improve his behavior. Yet here we are again. So Adam Silver, I guarantee he's going to make a serious example out of Ja Morant. Now, something somewhat closely related to this was when Gilbert Arenas once upon a time brought a gun into a locker room. Much different situation, obviously. But Gilbert Arenas, this happened in January of that season. He got suspended for the rest of the season. So that right there, that's around half a season. Don't be surprised if Ja Morant gets suspended for 25 games. They're going to want to make an example out of this guy. So not looking good for old Ja Morant. Elsewhere, Monty Williams gets canned by the Phoenix Suns. I think a lot of people were surprised by that. And, seems to be the consensus that a lot of people don't think it's fair. Going up against the number 1 seed, no real shame in losing to the number 1 seed. But you got to consider to support Williams here. Chris Paul's out. DeAndre Ayton was out for that game 6. That's 2 of 5 starters right there. But I think this quite simply comes down to the new owner just not liking him. Of course, this new guy, Matt Ishbia, I think his name is, who bought the team. About a day after buying the team, he goes out and trades for Kevin Durant. The team had no depth whatsoever, and he probably just didn't like Monty Williams. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes there? But my phone here. But yeah, Monty Williams probably won't be out of work for too long. It looks like the Milwaukee Bucks will aggressively pursue him. And what's kind of interesting about that, we remember when the Bucks beat the Suns in Game 6 in the NBA Finals a couple years ago. A lot of people probably recall a clip of Monty Williams asking to go into the Bucks locker room after that game to congratulate the players. So that's kind of interesting, where he already has this kind of weird little tiny connection with that team. So that's kind of interesting. And that brings us to the biggest loser of the weekend in the NBA. And a lot of people probably think I'm going to say Joel Embiid, Harden, Doc Rivers, the 76ers. Yeah, they deserve a couple votes. But let me tell you who the biggest loser of the weekend is in the NBA. It is the Dallas Mavericks. Might be thinking, Joe, we haven't seen the Mavericks in a month. What the hell are you talking about? Well, you remember about a month ago at the end of the regular season, the Dallas Mavericks had an opportunity to get into the play-in, and they tanked. They quit. They stopped trying, kind of using the along the logic of, yeah, if we get in, we're not going to win and do anything anyways. Well, how did the other play-in teams make out? in the playoffs here? Well, we have two of them in the conference finals, the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers. Were a lot of people giving the Miami Heat a chance in that opening round series? You play to win the game. You play to get into the playoffs. You play to get into the play-in. In the case of the Dallas Mavericks, but they tanked for potentially a chance at getting the number 10 pick in the draft. So congratulations to them. What they get, a $1,500 fine or something ridiculous for tanking? So yeah, the Dallas Mavericks, it was an awful look then. It is an awful look now with a couple play-in teams advancing to the conference finals. Okay, Ian, this brings us to the NHL. We've been doing this fun segment, Maple Leafs fan, mental health check. Will be our final one here of this season because the Leafs, I wouldn't even say they teased their fans with extending this series to 5 games. But put a bow on this. Your final thoughts on the Maple Leafs here after they go out in 5 versus Florida.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that over the past 6 years, I actually felt the series that the Leafs played the worst in ended up being the one that they won. I didn't actually think they deserved to beat the Lightning. I thought they deserved to beat the Panthers. I thought in the 5 games, I thought they outplayed them clearly in 3 of the 5. Sergei Bobrovsky. Goddamn,
Nothing,
Sergei
Tito.
Bobrovsky. Sergei Bobrovsky stood in his head at 58 years old, which is not something that we saw coming. Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I was in shambles when it happened. I mean, it did go to overtime in game 5, and I really thought if we could force game 6, we had a real chance to come back and pull off the improbable. We got to fire Sheldon Keefe. He's been out-coached now in just about every single playoff series that he's coached in. He somehow is obsessed with Justin Hall, who played like 26 minutes in game 5, and he's one of the worst defensemen in the National Hockey League. I have no idea why he's obsessed with him. Fire Sheldon Keefe. Keep Kyle Dubas, which is not a popular opinion amongst Leafs fans. I actually think he's built a pretty solid team. And you're going to have to break up the core 4. You're probably going to have to get rid of Marner or Matthews. And get in some guys who aren't soft. God damn, these guys are soft, Joe. It's like they don't actually care if they lose. They just don't have that grit that you need, with that immeasurable, quote-unquote, grit that you need to win in the postseason. This team completely lacks it. Their stars don't show up in big spots outside of Willie Nylander. We'll be back in the playoffs next year, I'm sure, and we'll probably lose in the first couple rounds. Like, I just don't think this core group of guys can get it done, but we'll see. Maybe they can with a different coach.
Okay, another news out of the NHL, Ian. The Edmonton Oilers get bounced last night. Connor McDavid becoming the Mike Trout of the NHL, all-time great player. I don't know. I don't think you can necessarily put a whole lot of that on McDavid, really. But so what is the story of that? Well, this means it is now a 30-year drought since a Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup. And a lot of people making a big deal out of this. As a Canadian, it drives me absolutely nuts because you hear people saying stuff like, oh, it's got to be tough being a Canadian hockey fan. Well, if you're a fan of one of those Canadian teams, sure. I like the Pittsburgh Penguins. You see Sid the Kid behind me, who is a Canadian, by the way. And do you not realize that a good percentage of the quality players on all these American teams winning the Stanley Cups are Canadians? Nathan McKinnon, the Avalanche, a lot of the coaches, guys putting the teams together, Canadian residents, born Canadians. Does it drive you nuts, Ian, that people kind of rub that in a little bit? Like, haha, Canada, your teams. You can't turn it into a Canada versus America thing. If it's Canada versus America in the Olympics, how's that gone? In World Juniors, does it drive you nuts like it drives me nuts, or am I making too much out of it?
It does. I don't know if Americans realize, if we actually don't, like, Canadian, like, fans of hockey in Canada don't just cheer for other Canadian teams. Like, growing up, when the Maple Leafs got eliminated from the playoffs, it's not like I then cheered for the other Canadian teams in the playoffs, especially ones that are in the Eastern Conference. But now that it's been 30 years and we've seen just the narrative of Americans rubbing in our face that a Canadian-based team hasn't won the cup, now while I'm cheering for Canadians for a Canadian team to get it done, just so that narrative can go to bed, because it's annoying. Yeah, I think the Blues a few years ago when they won the cup had the most Canadians on any roster in the NHL, but yet somehow Canada doesn't get credit for it. So, yeah, it's annoying.
It is. So I made this comparison on Friday night. I said I thought it was funny that the Maple Leafs in their NBA comparison, New York Knicks both got bounced from the playoffs
Yep.
on the same night. I got a little bit of pushback on that. Now, ultimately, I do think if you look at the history of those franchises, that is true. But I think a more fair comparison for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the past 10 years is the Philadelphia 76ers. So my question to you, Ian, do you think that's a fair comparison? Who do you think is a bigger disgrace, the Leafs or the Philadelphia 76ers, who have a nice history of blowing leads here in the playoffs over the past couple of years as well?
I will say the 76ers are more of a disgrace because I think in hockey there's just more variance. Like top teams, I mean, we saw it with the Bruins this year, and that's not a totally rare thing. Top teams lose to lower ranked teams all the time in the NHL. There's a lot more variance in NHL playoffs, not so much with the NBA playoffs. When you're a team as good as the 76ers over the past 5 or 6 years, you should have at least, they haven't even made the conference finals in this time, have they? I don't think so. So they're not getting past the second round. Yeah, and in a league where generally the better team usually wins the series in the NBA playoffs. So because of that, I will say that the 76ers are more of a disgrace lately.
Yeah, this team is a joke. And that is all, like, you want to make fun of Doc Rivers. I get that. Joel Embiid, that was pathetic, man. A 15-point game. And I don't think they're going to blow it up, but I did a little thing here in March, and I said Embiid might just say, F this, I want to go to a new team. And I predicted that potentially a team that's going to be ready to make a big move here at some point is the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know what I mean? First-round draft picks they have over the next 3 seasons. I think they have like six or seven first-round draft picks over the next 3 seasons. They can't possibly roster all of those players. They already have a pretty good rotation of 6 or 7 guys. That's not even including Chet Holmgren, who will join the team, and whoever they pick first this year. They might be ready to make a big-time move, but do you want to risk that on a guy like Joel Embiid, who's injured all the time? This might have been Embiid's best chance. Up 3-2 in a series with a chance to close out at home. James Harden, by the way, the final 2 games of the series, he shot 25.9%. He is afraid of a big spot.
Oh, no!
And he's going to go back to the Houston Rockets because they're a stupid organization who's going to give him max money for some reason. And he does not want the pressure of being, and it's okay. It's not easy to be in that position of, hey, I want the ball in game 7 when the clock's, like, we all want this from our big time athletes, right? But he doesn't want that. Now, he's not going to come out and tell you that. He'll be good for a 40-point game in game 1. He'll have a good game in game 3 or 4 as well. But when the series is on the line, James Harden will be nowhere to be seen. Okay, guys, it is now time for today's Handicapper Heat Check. We're all over the place. Proudly presented by VegasInsider.com. Your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Oh, there's our guy, NHL Profits leader, Steven Nover, on a 14-3 NHL win streak. He went 3-0 in MLB on Sunday. And Brian Bittler has hit 4 straight MLB winners, extending his run to 9-2 in his last 11 picks. And Joe Nelson had a perfect 3-0 all-sports record yesterday. He's on a 10-3 MLB run. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for tonight's top plays. That's your Handicapper Heat Check. Stay hot, bettors. All right, Ian, it is now time for a segment we haven't done in a while, TV Talk with Ian and Joe. Some people really enjoy this segment, and I got to ask, are you caught up on the final season of Succession? Only 2 episodes left to go.
Yes, I am. Last episode was great. One of the rare shows that are ending at the perfect time. I think they're not stretching it on too long. And unless the final 2 episodes are randomly bad, it's going to land strong, which is rare for a TV show. So Succession, depending on these last 2 episodes, might end up being my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, it is trending in the right direction. And the next episode coming up, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. If you're not caught up, your spoiler alert, you can click off now. It's going to be Logan's funeral episode, and that's going to be pretty intense. And in a lot of these shows, Breaking Bad, a lot of people say their second to last episode was the best episode of the entire series. So we might get the same thing here from Succession. And apparently the finale is going to be an hour and 20 minutes long. So yeah, it looks like they could stick the landing. I don't know if it's going to make my Mount Rushmore of shows. It's close. My Mount Rushmore of shows right now, in no particular order: Sopranos, Breaking Bad, The Wire, and Mad Men, which is absolutely a fantastic show. Great writing there as well. If they have a strong ending, they might get there. The League, Tito, are you saying The League is one of your favorite shows on your Mount? Did you watch The League, Ian? Is it on your The League?
That was a fantasy football one, wasn't it?
That's on his Mount Rushmore of shows.
Yeah, listen, those
The
are fun to
League.
watch, but like they're not high. It's not a high quality show. You can't rank that. Maybe if you're ranking like the top 5 like dumb comedies, like yeah, but like come on, man. Succession, The League.
The League. Oh boy, that's a rough one. And Tito is, like I say, he fancies himself as some sort of a entertainment buff, and he comes out here telling us The League is on his Mount Rushmore shows. And this is after casually saying, "I've never seen a Rocky or Creed movie, yet I'm a big movie buff." Okay, yeah. So that does it for TV talk with Ian and Joe. We will have more TV talk. Maybe next Monday we won't be here. Actually, a little bit of housekeeping. No shows this Friday or next Monday. I'm moving this weekend. Moving absolutely sucks, especially when you're moving a whole house worth of stuff. So I will be back with you in a new location next Tuesday. But we're gonna have shows Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday remaining this week. But yeah, we'll be sure to remind you of that again. So Ian, do you have anything going on out there that Chasing That Paper viewers can check out? A big golf tournament this week, from what I hear.
Yes, the PGA Championship, the second major of the year, second men's major of the year, is set to take place this week. I will be releasing an episode of the Bacon Bets podcast tomorrow morning, which will be a full preview of the event as well as my best bets. So you people won't see me on this show before the event tees off Thursday morning. So if you want those picks for that event, you're going to have to get them at the Bacon Bets podcast. Should be out first thing tomorrow morning. And also check out all my written work on Fansided. I'll be writing a ton about the PGA Championship as well. So you can see that on fansided.com.
You have it. A lot of great content from Ian. So that does it for today's show. I'll be right back with you tomorrow. Flying solo, I think. So we'll be in and out fairly quickly. But we thank Ian once again for joining us. He'll be right back with us here on Thursday, breaking down, of course, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. We thank producer Tito for producing. A little sleepy today, but we do thank him for getting out of bed and producing today's program. I'm sure he's all fired up to throw on some of his favorite episodes of The League here this afternoon. And of course, we thank you, dear viewer, for checking us out. Once again, best of luck with your bets tonight, unless, of course, you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Yeah!